Hey guys, welcome to this week's podcast episode. Today's topic and episode is going to be all about resiliency, purpose, daring to be your authentic self. And with that, I have special guest Isabelle Fortin. She's also mindset coach. I'm really excited to bring her onto the show for the listeners out there who are all about resiliency and mindset and emotional freedom. And so, Isabelle, welcome.
Thank you for having me, Christopher. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Tell people about your story and how you got started and what you do. And I'm really excited to get the conversation.
Well, thank you for that. Right out of high school, I joined the military and I served the Canadian Air Force for a decade.
Yeah.
And I loved it for a while because it was giving me a sense of duty and a sense of purpose. And I felt like I was making a difference. But after a while, I really started hating the job. Like, I liked the surroundings. I like wearing the uniform. I loved all of that, the sense of belonging. And like I said earlier, purpose and duty and all that good stuff. But the actual day to day job got really boring. So it took
Uh-huh.
me a long time to, once I transitioned to my civilian jobs, it took me a long time before finding something that I felt that I was adding something to the world, because that's very important for me to feel like I'm contributing to the world. So I did odd jobs and I had 17,000 jobs in 5 years. And of course, I'm exaggerating, but actually not that much. It became a joke in my family and with my group of friends, because there are some friends that every time I would see them, I had just started this new job. And actually, I became a massage therapist quite by accident. I accompanied a friend of mine who wanted to become a massage therapist
Yeah.
to a 15-hour introduction to Swedish massages. And after the 15 hours, I felt like I didn't know enough and I wanted to know more. So that curiosity of going and daring to try something new actually lit a match, under my, it opened an entire new world for me. And I ended up becoming a massage therapist.
Uh-huh.
And I worked as a massage therapist for 23 years, but about 10 years in, a client of mine, at the end of a massage while she was paying and taking her next appointment, said, Isabelle, I don't come here for the massages. I come here to talk to you. Because whenever I leave our time together, I always leave with a fresh perspective on whatever it is that we were talking about. So that opened another door for me to say, oh, okay, so maybe my value and what I can bring to the world is more in regards to mindset. And that's how I became a mindset coach. And that was in 2009 already.
I love that story where you where clients come back to you because of the feeling that you give to them as opposed to the actual service. That means you've got a raving fan.
Yeah, and she's still my client now.
Yeah. And I can tell like the way you're describing it, just like the way your mannerisms light up when you're talking about, passion and purpose and authenticity being in service. So kind of this emotional resiliency, emotional wellness and health is kind of it's kind of net I would say net kind of you have to really boil down to what specific issues. So one part is daring to be your authentic self. What ideas or things do you have to share, daring to be your authentic self for emotional wellness?
Dare to speak up. There are 8 billion people on this planet. A quarter of them are not going to like you. A quarter of them are going to absolutely adore you. And 50% are not going to have an opinion at all about the fact that you exist in this world. So at the end of the day, and I know this sounds bad, but it actually isn't. It's very, very freeing, because when you dare to show up as who you are and use your voice and say what you mean what you say and live with purpose, the bottom line is nobody's going to care except you, but it's going to make an entire difference in your life. You know, the people that are bothered by you aren't, it's not about you. It's about you're triggering something they don't like in themselves.
Yeah.
And they're reacting to that instead of reacting to you. It feels personal, but it really isn't. So when you understand how much people don't care, I mean, they care on a human level. Some of them will care on a human level, but other than that, they'll bitch and whine and groan. And after that, they're, down to the next thing. And
Yeah.
it's so when you understand, that's very, very freeing. I find it's very, very freeing because that way you can just be who you are. And you know what? The world needs you to be who you are. You were put on this planet for something. And even if you talk about something, then literally another billion people talks about the same thing you do. Like, I'm a mindset coach. Come on. How many mindset coaches are there in the world? At least 15 million, at least. But you know what, Christopher? None of them have my life experience. None of them have my voice. None of them have the way that I express things, the way that and I will speak to many and I will not speak to a lot of other people, and that's okay because the right people that needs my message will hear it and it will get to them, and that's it. The others, just let them live their lives, and that's it.
Yeah. It's interesting because piggyback off yours, like once you realize it's not about you, it's not personal, people are kind of in their own vibrational world. They're kind of reacting based on their vibrational state. And it's like kind of like those, like most people are on their phones, right? And then they'll look up and then they'll look back down and they go back to their world. They're all concerned about, and I love this idea. My wife and I, we have this thing where it's like we call out BS, say what you mean. Don't like, no like passive aggressive. Just say it, and get it over with. Then you talk about purpose. How do you connect with purpose? What it is, and you can see that once you connect with it, you move up a vibrational state.
For me, it's joy. I know I am doing the right thing. I know I am helping the right people. I know I am speaking about the right or transmitting the right message if it brings me joy. Because joy is not only for kids, it's for all of us. Joy is an emotion, of course, and it's an emotion, but I'll choose joy over happiness any day because joy has a extremely high vibration level. Extremely,
Oh.
it is similar to love, and that's one of the things that's kind of my battle. I don't like that word, but I'll use it for a lack of a better one. It's kind of my battle is we seem to refer to love only as if it was reserved for romance. And romantic love is important. Of course it's important, but it's not love. It's a way of expressing love. And of course, you don't love your husband or your wife or your life partner the way you love your parents, but it doesn't mean that the love you share with your parents is less than. It's just different. So it's the same thing for joy. It's such a high vibration emotion that you follow the things that brings you joy. You cannot fail at finding your purpose. It's impossible.
Yeah. And we'll talk about kind of narratives like spouse and kids, but there's also different types of love. There's like brotherly love, there's friendship love, romantic love as well. So many different types, and I love how you distinguish between joy and happiness. And talk about this being in service and why you believe being in service is the best way to live in order to feel fulfilled.
Well, because we rise by helping others, even in random acts of kindness. As a giver, you're going to have a high dose of oxytocin, which is a stress reducing hormone. The person at the receiving end gets the same hit of oxytocin. So it improves their lives as well. But the good thing about kindness and being in service is any witnesses of this act of kindness will also get an oxytocin dose. So it's going to make them feel better as well. So how can you not want to be in service of others? And I mean, I am not Mother Teresa. I really am not. But if I have the occasion to help anybody, the first response is yes, unless it has too high a cost for me. I mean, if it's gonna, bring me down in every aspect, physically, financially, mentally, spiritually, psychologically, if it doesn't cost, then yes, of course I'm going to help. And I find that, and it's not a popular way of looking at it, but I find that helping others is an extremely selfish act. I give because it makes me feel better. It makes me feel worthy. It makes me feel all, giggly inside because it boosts my immune system. It boosts my self-esteem. It boosts everything. And thank goodness it's good for other people too, because that way I want to do it more.
Yeah. I love that, and just kind of being in service, because I actually, every Thanksgiving, Christmas, I love volunteering at the food shelter, just kind of helping, and then I do it for free, and it's better than
It's any
yeah,
material gift you can receive.
yeah, any monetary or whatever success. It's like it's like just takes your time, and you're giving. The other question is, because I'm curious, how do you deal with just past traumas? Either could be emotional, or people that wronged you, stabbed you in the back, or how do you deal with that?
You gotta let that shit go. Oh, I don't think there's a big recipe. I think forgiveness is the best thing. And sometimes you need to forgive yourself first. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
have the biggest trauma in my life is my mother passed away when I was 5 and she was 36. And of course, it created, I was a sad kid and then I was an angry teenager because anger is way easier to deal with than sadness is.
Mm-hmm.
And because you have control in anger and sadness, it's only despair. And then I became a bitter adult and I was not fun to be around. And at
Mm-hmm.
one point in my life, I had to just let that shit go, and B, forgive myself for having created this path. Because
Mm-hmm.
I did, although it was at an unconscious level, I did create this path. And when I was faced with myself, looking at myself in the mirror and say, okay, I can't, this is not fun. This life of mine is not fun. And I don't believe in the punitive God. I didn't understand why I felt like I was being punished in this life. Well, because I was punishing myself. So
Mm-hmm.
you have to forgive yourself. A lot of my clients will say, I will never forgive that person for doing this and this and that. And my response to that is, it's not about them, it's about you.
Mm-hmm.
Forgiving, even forgiving others, forgiving ourselves first, but forgiving others is the same energy. It's not about saying that you agree with what they did to you. It's about
Mm-hmm.
freeing yourself from that pain.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there are as many people on the planet as there are ways to offer forgiveness. But I think it starts with that.
Kind of a follow-up question is, so do
Sure.
you have this traumatic event, or kind of these micro traumas, and so do you basically block it out of your, because it's happened, right? So the way I self-analyze myself is, this happened, and so I create stories around it, kind of rationalize it, or just like kind of these stories. So do you create empowering stories around it, or you kind of block it out and kind of recreate it? I'm just curious, how do you deal with that?
I think blocking is a very, very, very toxic idea. For me, my trick is just accepting. Christopher, whether I hold my breath until I'm blue in the face and I die, it's not going to make my mother come back. She died.
Mhm.
And it's unbelievably unfair, but it's life. Life has never been fair. It isn't now, and it will never be fair. That's not how this is designed. So just accepting the facts for what they are.
Mhm.
So my story in this time, in this turn of life, whether I'm going to come back or not, I don't know. But in this turn, my story is my mom passed away when I was 5. So I
Mhm.
just need to accept that. And of course, I did the crying, the ranting, the bitching at God because it's not fair, and I did all of that. You have to have an out. You have to give yourself permission to have those feelings. You can't just say, "Oh, shush, shush, shush." It's no, 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 no. You need to give yourself permission to feel them and express them, but you can't live in that energy. So at one point you have to decide. It starts with a decision that say, okay, so this happened to me.
Mhm.
Now what? Because that's what resilience is.
Mhm.
Resilience is not staying in a victim mindset. Resilience is saying, this happened. Now what do I do from now on? And that's the
Mhm.
difference between blame and responsibility. So in my
Mhm.
case, my mom passed away of cancer. It's nobody's fault. I have no one to blame. But it is
Mhm.
my responsibility to pick up and do something with my life because my life isn't over. So
Mhm.
that's my responsibility.
Yeah, I love that. Very powerful.
Thank you.
I love talking to mindset coaches and just people about forgiveness and just kind of like, how do you deal with just like absolutely horrible, things and, things that are really unfair. It really helps. So kind of wrapping up, we have a few more minutes, but, talking about, I like how you did not accept certain narratives. Like for example, in the US, the narrative is your value and status equates to how successful you are, what accomplishment.
Financially.
Yeah, financial, and
Yeah.
that could be house, what but a lot of people are waking up to this as kind of like this is a BS narrative. So people are living lives based on how they choose and what you're talking about deciding. So talk about shunning mainstream narratives. Most of it's to get you to buy things and going on your path, and then how can people contact you and follow you?
The way that I don't buy into that crap is because it hasn't served me. I
Mhm.
don't buy into the recipe of however success is defined just because it doesn't resonate with me. You need to have a strong back, but you need to have I don't give a crap what your opinion is about my life.
Mm.
You have to have that button, very well used. But I think that
Uh-huh.
once you understand that what they think of you has nothing to do with you,
Mhm.
then it's easier to let that stuff go, right? How do people get a hold of me? Either by LinkedIn. My name is Isabelle Fortin. That's Isabelle, and not Isabella. And my website is izzyfortin.com. So that's
Yeah.
IZZY Fortin, FORTIN.com. And I have actually a 21-day mindset program, and it's called Mind Your Own Happiness. And
Yeah.
it's 21 days. Every day you get a little bit of content and homework
Oh,
because
nice.
you switch your mindset by actually doing the work.
Yeah, I love that, and I really enjoyed this conversation. A lot of
Thank you.
deep insights and a lot of deep work, deep inner work. And all of Isabelle's resources will be in the links and show notes. Be sure to check out her 21-day challenge. And thanks so much for coming on to the podcast.
You're very welcome. And thanks for having me.